purchased some old wrestling cards, a few stacks, so I figured got nothing better to do this early in the morning, so I'd go through them on camera. But before I start, I wanted to say something about eBay, because I know that a lot of the few subscribers I have, a lot of them use eBay quite a bit. I've used it pretty much since, since the 90s. That's how long ago. And I received my first negative feedback for an item this past week, which really, if you've ever gotten a negative feedback, especially if it was no fault of your own, it really sucks. So going through the website and calling them was no help. The item, I did nothing wrong. The item was not received, but tracking said it was, so maybe it was stolen off the porch. It says it was delivered to the porch. But I did contact them through Twitter, through the Ask eBay Twitter account, and they removed the negative feedback within like 20 minutes. So if you ever have a problem with eBay, with that type of stuff, it's better to go on Twitter. It's public. Everybody sees it too. So there's that added pressure by them to do something. So that was just a little PSA for those out there that do use eBay. So I get these cards, and if you were a wrestling fan back in the day, you've probably seen these, especially these WCW cards. I never liked WCW. It was always a little too southern for me, where I'm in Massachusetts, so it had that wrestling vibe, Jim Ross. And if I recall, that was one of the reasons why they didn't want Jim Ross originally, because he had that southern accent. It's pre-Bell's palsy Ross. More Jim Ross looking, intent on hearing every brilliant word that I'm sure came out of Lex Luger's mouth. Missy Hyatt. Let's see what Missy Hyatt says on her card. 5'8", her hobbies are thoroughbred horses. It makes sense, given her job. Missy Hyatt's nickname, the Glamour Queen of Wrestling, fits her as snugly as one of her sweaters. We still wonder if she continues to win recognition with honors, such as being voted World's Sexiest Superstar in 1990. And along came Sable. It's the same thing. No, Missy Hyatt was wrestling once. Missy Hyatt manager. Missy tutored both Sting and the Steiner brothers. Tutored. After all, making a 265-pound fighting machine listen to instructions is no small feat. It is not small. It is probably like 8 inches long. But that's a big feat. No. Teddy Long. Always liked Teddy Long. Likes his tag matches, which I'm always down for. A lot of people, tag wrestling fell out in favor for quite a while, in at least WWE. But it's back now. In a little bit, I've seen Arn Anderson. I was just watching a shoot where I was talking about the time Sid Vicious stabbed him like 30 times. He went after Sid Vicious, came up with like a chair leg and went to go beat him up in his hotel room or something, and Arn Anderson was trimming that magnificent uncle beard, because that's what that is. Everybody's got an uncle that looks like Arn Anderson, or at least a beard like them, and Arn Anderson stabbed him in the throat like 2 or 3 times, and then Sid Vicious stabbed him like 30 times, and Sid Judy, or Sid Just, I don't know what he was in WCW at the time, but man, that was a big dude. El Gigante, one of the worst wrestlers of all time. I can't remember what, WrestleMania 12, when he fought Undertaker. God, that was outside in Caesar's Palace. And that was the one where Hogan came with a black and blue eye, and Bret Hart fought Yokozuna, and he was there in his meat wool fursuit, whatever the hell that thing was. God, it was bad. He passed away. He was huge. How tall was he? 7'7". Obviously, he wasn't really 7'7", but he was giant. Terry Taylor, the Rooster, one of the best wrestlers of all time. I think he works at NXT. It was originally Mr. Perfect, and they ended up giving him instead the Red Rooster gimmick. God, how much did that suck? Mr. Wall Street, and then he went to WWE and became IRS with Ted DiBiase and all of them. His kids are Bo Dallas and Bray Wyatt. This dude was a legit great wrestler, All-American, I think, as a lot of these guys were. Anderson, more Terry Taylor, more Terry Taylor, more Terry Taylor. Flying Brian Pillman, one of the best. His son's wrestling now. Z-Man, I could be wrong, Tom Zenk, but I think he's a meth addict now. I might have the wrong guy, so Tom Zenk, if you ever come across this video, which I'm sure you will, I apologize for saying that you're on meth. Good rule of thumb, if somebody's a pro wrestler and they're from Minnesota, that they're legit. Minnesota just produces so many great wrestlers. I read why he didn't get the push that other people did. I can't remember what it was. Alright, so it was Sid Vicious with tossing Sting. God, he was a beast back in the day. Now he just loves to play softball. Dutch Mantel. More Sid Vicious. More Sid Vicious. More Sid Vicious. Lex Luger. Always hated Lex Luger. Didn't like his face. Didn't like when he came to WWE. WWE at the time of the narcissist. And he had that plate in his arm from the motorcycle accident. And then when Hogan left, they tried to make him into the new Hogan when he slammed Yokozuna on the battleship or whatever it was on 4th of July, I think. He came in his Zuba American flag pants, and then he had his tour bus with the American flag on it, and nobody really responded to him. I don't think he was as bad as people think he was in the ring. I think he gets a bad rap, but there's a really interesting video of him and Bruiser Brody when he was just coming up, and in a steel cage match. I don't know where it was, but it's really low quality. Barely see what's going on, and apparently Brody started shooting on him in the ring, and he couldn't get out. Finally, he made his way up the fence and got into his car and just drove off somewhere because he was so scared. Ricky Morton died as a man. I tell you, as a kid, I could not deal with these. Now I recognize how great they were, how great Ricky Morton was. And but as a kid, it was just too. It was too southern for me, or too Midwest. And that's not to say anything wrong with that south of the Midwest. I love it, but I just wasn't used to this style of wrestling and appearance. You know, kind of a little bit more plain. Now I appreciate it a lot more. I'd much rather have that. Lex Luger hopping over Ric Flair. More Luger. Sting. Never was a Sting fan. My father, when he used to be in the video business, he met Sting one day, and he was kind of a jerk to my dad. Wouldn't give him an autograph for me, but whatever. He's probably hungry and needed to get some food. Yeah. Lots of Sting. I was excited when he came back, and then promptly got injured. Flair, the man. See, Flair's so much the man that he can apparently form golden chi balls in his hand. It's interesting how Ric Flair has become a meme now. I guess because so many rappers use his name. So the Southern Boys. I don't know who the Southern Boys are. The Smothers Brothers. Tracy Smothers, not Smothers Brothers. Steve Armstrong. Okay. Fabulous Freebirds. as a kid, like he's as a kid, because this is when this was on, but the most I ever got from the Fabulous Freebirds, at least when it came to television, was the beginning of Highlander, when they have in their match. I can't remember who they're having it with. But man, I just, I know that, like, Michael PSA, he put himself out there as like this dude that women loved, and maybe they did at the time and the place, but when I go back and I watch old stuff, and they're great workers and the matches are great, but I just don't see any woman I know being into that guy. Could be wrong, just don't know. All right, let's get through these Southern boys. Steiner brothers, unbelievable athletes, wrestlers. I was just watching Rick Steiner when he tried to start a fight with Tank Abbott in WCW, a legit fight. Tank Abbott was I'm not going to say the word, but he wasn't a nice guy, and I kind of wish Rick Steiner took him out. I mean, this dude was just, Scott Steiner was such an unbelievable athlete, and, he became Big Papa. He got huge, right? So juiced up. He was obviously juicing here, and I know a lot of people say, well, he got juiced up, so it affected how he wrestled. But the truth of the matter is, he got juiced up because of certain injuries that he had. He was also has like a foot disorder where it messed with him, and it caused injuries, lower body injuries, if I remember. And he was just an animal back in the day. Doom. Rick Steiner, Scott Steiner. Yeah. Doom. Ron Simmons, Butch Reed. Damn. So there are those. Now I got. I'll do these first. Okay, what year is this? These are 1990 Classic. The infamous Classic company. Usually puts out pretty lame cards, but these look cool. Haku, right? The memes, the toughest wrestler who ever lived, ripping people's ears off, throwing people off buildings, which I'm sure he was tough as nails, but I have a feeling that his legend has got out of control. Skip these. Paul Roma, dude was just bleeding Mexican supplements out the nose. Dude was jacked. Never cared for him. Too plain for me when I was young. Rockers, Jannetty, Shawn Michaels. Marty Jannetty is absolutely insane nowadays. I think probably substance abuse. But as a kid, I always thought that Jannetty would be the one that went on to do bigger things, and never happened. Coco Beware was a joke in WWE with how him and Owen Hart of the tag team, the parrot and the goofy look, but down south he was legit. He was a champion for a long time down south. I think the first black champion in a lot of southern territories. Coco Beware, dude is big. I forgot how big he was. Haku, more Coco Beware, the legend Bobby Heenan. One of the funniest man, not just in wrestling, I've ever seen. The guy would have been a superstar in any field of entertainment. Tino Bravo was murdered watching TV by the mafia, Canadian mafia, I believe, or something. I don't know, for running cigarettes. The genius learning Pofo. That's how he sounds. Macho Man's brother. Claims to be the world's smartest man. I don't think so. The Widowmaker, Barry Windham. I think Jim Cornette brought him in. And it never panned out. He might have brought the NWA title with him. I can't remember. Big dude. Freddie Blassie. Legendary. Used to rent the movie with, there's like a breakfast scene with him and Andy Kaufman. Was it My Breakfast with Freddie Blassie or something like that? I used to rent it a lot. Classy Freddie Blassie. I think he was stabbed or something back in the day when kayfabe was still a thing, and people thought he was a legit bad guy. And I think he was stabbed once, and Bruno Sammartino had to step in and do something. Bret Hart. I'd say almost more than anything when I was younger, and for a lot of kids that liked wrestling when they were younger, was getting a pair of those dope shades. Particularly getting a pair of them at an event, which I only went to one when I was young. It was the first one that Andre the Giant had just died, like the night before or something. It was the first event. They did like a 10-bell salute. Jim the Anvil just died. Dude was a friggin' tank. Maniac. Smash Demolition. Looking like they just dropped the hottest black metal demo of 2019. Still love them. Brutus, the Barber Beefcake. Awful in the ring. He was Hulk Hogan's friend, so he took care of his friends. And I don't even know if it was a Brutus. I know he was like a stripper gimmick at first, and then they gave him the barber. Brutus the Beefcake, and then the barber. I don't understand it. Vince McMahon is insane. Jimmy Superfly Snooker. A friend of mine. This is kind of adult if there are kids watching, but I doubt there are. A friend of mine, when he came to wrestle in the Massachusetts area a few years back, he's a big wrestling fan. There was a local promotion, and my buddy's friend's father owned the promotion or something like that, and Jimmy Snuka was coming to wrestle, and he asked my friend if he could get him some substances. And he did, and he ended up bringing it to a hotel or a motel in a really bad part of town. He says one of the most depressing things he ever saw was watching, somebody that he grew up idolizing, an old man doing drugs in a motel. And now there is also the question of whether he was a murderer or not, which, when you wake up, or when your girlfriend is murdered, or wife, whoever it was, and you wake up covered in blood and say you don't know what happened, you probably killed that person. The weird thing about that is that Vince McMahon showed up at the police station, if I remember, and acted as if Jimmy Snuka could not speak English, keeping up the kayfabe that he, where he's from, the Fiji Islands, and he couldn't speak English. And he obviously passed away and the trial didn't happen, but I wonder if Vince McMahon would have been like trouble for that. I don't know. Tito Santana, good IC champion, so boring for me. He does a lot of local shows at our Veterans Bar, or VFW place in my town. It's usually like 2 or 3 times a year. Bushwhackers, these dudes are legit. If you go look at some of their matches outside the WWE prior, when they were the Sheep Herders, they put on some amazing matches, and they were like OGs of hardcore wrestling. And then they came here and they just started licking kids' faces, which is, I look back and I don't understand it. Honky Tonk Man, don't know much to say about him. Jay looking full of Diana Ball. Here's the Red Rooster. What a gimmick. Could have been perfect. Could have been Mr. Perfect. And more anvil. And there's the Hulkster. The defamed Hulkster. But he's back now, I guess. Says a lot of stupid things. But, I don't watch Hulk Hogan because of, the crap he says in his kitchen. But whatever. Macho Man. Macho Madness. Macho King. I don't remember if he dropped the King, what year he dropped the King, just being Macho Man. Virgil getting some of that F money, going to Olive Garden to get some breadsticks. He's got a very funny Twitter account. I don't think it's run by him. Greg the Hammer Valentine looking like he drives a Subaru and his name is Denise and he lives in Vermont. Hillbilly Jim, I always thought Hillbilly Jim was cool as hell. Maybe because I had his LGN, the big rubber figures. Absolutely talentless in the ring as a worker, but you know the gimmick worked. I don't know. Seems like a nice guy too from things I've seen. Hulkamania, rugged Ronnie Garvin. Some of the stuff that he had in NWA is really good. Dude's a great worker. Cool. More Virgil. Greg, the Genius. Flick. I don't have a lot of fond memories of Slick, except when he managed Akeem, the African Dream, even though he was the whitest human being on earth. It was funny. Never get away with that now. And more rugged Ronnie Garvin. So there's those. And I got one more pile. If you haven't fallen asleep, as I wax unpoetic about professional wrestling. Poetically. Alright. So these are older. These are 85. The Fabulous Moolah wearing what looks to be the couch. Looks like the couch you'd find at a thrift store or something. I don't know. Fabulous Moolah, if you look her up and read the stories about what she did with the younger female wrestlers that came up, not good. He was essentially a pimp and treated a lot of people really bad, and it's not a good person. Obviously groundbreaking in the ring, but Big John Studd, just a giant, died of liver cancer, I believe. Was in, I didn't know until recently when I rewatched it, Harley Davidson, the Marlboro Man. He was like the big brute in the movie, and he was pretty good in it. I think he died a little while after. Hey, look, Jesse, you tell me what happened at Tower 7 then. You tell me. That's all. That's pretty much all I come out of his mouth. Yeah, he was a Navy SEAL. Like it. I might even talk about Jesse Ventura. There's Brutus Beefcake before Brutus the Barber. The legend Roddy Piper taking a bump. 232. Junkyard Dog passed away driving to his daughter's like recital or something like that, or graduation. Unfortunately, he was so over. People just loved this dude back in the day. Greg, Wendy Richter, she was like, you don't hear her name come up when it comes to when people talk about female wrestlers and female wrestlers of the past, but she was pretty legit, you know. Champion for a long time. Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful. Sad to see what he is now. I mean, he's old, obviously, but he's been sick, cancer, things like that. You know, Hulk Hogan looked the same age since I was, 4, 5. He just always, all these dudes look old as hell. It's weird. I don't understand it. Wrestlers always look old. Even now, some of the wrestlers, the young, they're like 23, and you think they're like 43, and their firstborn's about to go to college. Jimmy sucking it. I don't see any blood on his hands in that picture. Sheiky baby. Iron Sheik had funny stuff. Everybody knows Iron Sheik's Twitter and all that stuff. But, he's had a rough time of things. He's a legit, he is he'll tell you he's a shooter, but he is a shooter. He's legit. Super Mario. Generic Wrestler 1. Hillbilly Jim again. Hulk Hogan. Mr. Fuji. King of the Pocket Sand. Before there was Dale Gribble, there was Mr. Fuji. Rotundo with them. That's IRS. Again. Moondog Spot. That's what Dusty Rose said. Moondog Spot. I don't know if it was Moondog Spot or Moondog Rex who died in the ring And Jerry Lawler's had like a old timers wrestling tournament or something. And one of them died in the ring, probably from eating bones. It usually has that effect on you. I have to believe that these guys are based on the they also have eyes type thing or something. I don't know. That's what I remember. They were like cannibal maniacs. Maybe wrong. Chief J Strongbow. He was actually only 13 in this picture. Georgino Steele, love Georgino Steele. Super smart guy, super fun to listen to. He just died a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago. Used to eat Tic Tacs to make his tongue that color. And then he did, Play 9 from Outer Space at Tim Burton's Play 9 from Outer Space. Great movie when Tim Burton was good. Let go of my toe. Okay, so now we get some action cards. Lock them up. Scalpel. Going for the midsection. Up in the air. The rest might be all these kind of boring action cards. Stretch. So, if Hulk Hogan gets a lot of crap for not being very good, and he isn't very great. He could sell a story, unbelievable. I mean, one of the best, and he's charismatic as anybody could be, and that's all you really need in pro wrestling a lot of the times. But when you watch him in Japan, he would put on a show. Like he had to work. You had to work there, I think. Obviously more, but yeah, if you watch some of his Japanese stuff over in Japan, All Japan Wrestling, New Japan, and both. I don't know if he did both, but it's some good matches. Orndorff. Appetite for Mayhem. I can't remember who that is in there. Putski, Ivan Putski. Dude was huge. My dad's favorite wrestler. Dog Spot, Rex. Jesse Ventura looking like superstar Billy Graham. Not the most fun position to be in. Andre. Most wrestling fans remember Andre, with the big black spandex on and what he was in like the 80s, mid to late 80s. Early Andre the Giant was amazing. If you're a wrestling fan, you want to see something great, just go to YouTube and look up Stan Hansen, Andre the Giant. See one of the best matches ever. Stan Hansen may be the best wrestler of all time, and him and Andre just go at it, and it's like just non-stop, and he's moving and just agile, and just a really entertaining match. Paul wants it all. I bet you do, Paul. I bet you do. Andre the Giant hated John Studd because John Studd would walk over the ropes. So big, so tall. And Andre the Giant said, no, I'm the only one who could do that. And he did it. And I think he roughed him up in the ring, and John Studd hit the road, was terrified of Andre after that. Yeah. Is that Rock's dad there? Rocky Johnson, yep. Dwayne Johnson's dad. There's Ivan Putski. One of those handicap matches with the midget wrestling, little people, whatever you want to call it. Who's in that camel clutch? Is that Hogan? No. I don't know who that is. There's some jobber. Some Jabba. Famous picture of junky-eyed dog. I don't know who that is under Tito Santana. Hogan really hates that song. He hates it. Rest in peace, Mean Gene. Like the man, another great. If you type in Google, YouTube, Mean Gene corpsing. Corpsing's a term in wrestling where you break character and you start laughing or whatever. Usually, it just means you start laughing. Mean Gene is the best at it. He has this unbelievable, contagious laugh, and it's great. He was the best. Dog is a mean bite. There's Rocky Johnson. Well, he's gonna have a fist sandwich. Clever. I remember seeing this on tape. I was a Marine. Freddie Blassie, Wendy Richter looking badass. If this was 3 years ago, I'd be like, man, look at how silly she looks in 1985, but now it's like, you go to Manhattan, everybody looks like that. Or Austin, Mass, or somewhere. I think he say he hungry. And finally, Captain Lou. Super Mario. So that's it. Those are some wrestling cards. I had nothing to do, so I figured I'd waste some more time and do these. And I hope you enjoyed them. And maybe I'll buy some more.